for my tardiness. We'll get started. If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pursuant to the provisions of Section 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, notice is hereby given that if you're not satisfied with the decision made by the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. Mr. Fields circulated for approval the minutes we had from our November meeting. Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review those minutes?
We have.
Yes.
Is there a motion regarding approval?
Move to approve the minutes from the
Second.
November 11th, 2021 meeting.
And we have a second, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We have a public hearing today. It's our annual hearing for consideration of taxicab certificates of public convenience and necessity to determine if we're going to grant any additional certificates. Mr. Fields?
There have been no applications filed this year. I think, as we've done in the past, it's appropriate to open the meeting, but there's nothing to be heard or could be considered, so we could close the meeting.
All right. We'll open the meeting at this point in time. Is there anyone who would like to address the commission on this issue regarding our annual hearing for the consideration of additional taxicab certificates? At this point in time, we'll close the public hearing. Having received no applications, is there anything that we as a commission need to do formally?
No, sir.
All right. We'll we also have a it's under public hearing. Is this a public hearing to consider the application for TriStar?
Yes.
All right. We have a second public hearing today. We've been asked to consider the application for TriStar Enforcement LLC to provide booting services. Mr. Fields?
In order for a company to provide booting and mobile immobilizing activities, they have to have a certificate from the commission. They are present and ready to speak, but their application is in order and have been working. We're currently working on. They have numerous lots, so we're working on their final lots, but everything's in order, and staff recommends approval.
All right. We'll open the public hearing for this consideration. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address us? TriStar, would you like to make a statement?
I'm Hunter Kitchens on behalf of TriStar Enforcement. I would appreciate the commission's consideration.
If you'll please come to the microphone, it's hard to get it on.
My name's Hunter Kitchens. I'm here on behalf of TriStar Enforcement, and I would appreciate Mr. Fields for all the help in assisting with the application process, and appreciate the commission's consideration of our application.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this issue? At this point, we'll close the public hearing so we can consider the application.
Mr. Fields, you see no reason not to approve it?
Everything's in order, sir.
Would you like a motion?
Yes.
I would make a motion at this time to approve the application of TriStar Enforcement LLC to provide booting services.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, the Director of the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure is present. Would you please allow her to come to the microphone?
Yes, of course. Please. Welcome. And I want to be the first to welcome you on behalf of the Commission as the new NDOT Commissioner.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself. Again, my name is Diana Alarcon. I am on day 12 here in Nashville, and I am enjoying it very much and super excited about being part of this team. I look forward to working with y'all and continuing to move the initiatives of this great city forward. So thank you for the opportunity. And I hope one time in the near future I have a chance to have a conversation more one-on-one with all of y'all. But thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we're here to help.
Mr. Fields said you came here from Tucson, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you say you're enjoying the 12 days here in cold weather?
Well, I didn't say I was enjoying the weather. I just said I'm enjoying Nashville. So I am having a bit of a I want to say, a shock to the cold, which is surprising. I mean, it does get cold at night out in Tucson. We do drop down into the 30s, but I'm usually inside under a blanket and not out there. But what's great about that area of Arizona is during the day, you're typically at this time of the year, you're like in the mid 60s, the high 60s, and at night it does get into the high 30s and low 40s, but then it's back and warm and just lovely. So it is a bit different, and then it did rain. I actually drove in the middle of that great winter storm, so that was my first exposure to Nashville. And as I told my husband, actually drove. I did not, and he was very brave as far as I'm concerned. And I was white knuckled to the dashboard the whole way in. So, but we are very much enjoying Nashville. So thank you for that.
And commissioners, I will tell you, she is very energetic. She has ideas. She will be bringing, I can assure you, she will be bringing ideas to this commission for consideration and support, and is going to be, she's very much involved in partnership. And of course, this is where everybody says, well, Billy's just done what he normally does. But the truth of the matter is, y'all know me well enough to know she's ready to do it. So boots on the ground, we're going to work.
Yes, sir, we are. So thank you. Thank you very much. Thank y'all. Appreciate the opportunity.
Next item on our agenda is under other passenger vehicles for hire. We've been asked to review new company applications from Nashville Experience Tours LLC, Cato Car Club, Black Tie Luxury Transport, and Mansour Limo. Mr. Fields?
As you know, all other passenger vehicle for hire applications have to be in front of the commission. All the applications are in order, and staff would recommend approval.
Are there 4 or 3 that we're looking at here? I've got 4 on my list, is that correct?
There's
Yes.
4.
Okay.
Nashville Experience Tours, Cato Car Club, Black Tie Luxury Transport, and Mansour Limo.
Okay. I'd make a motion that we approve en banc the new company applications for vehicles for hire, and that is Nashville Experience Tours LLC, Cato Car Club, Black Tie Luxury Transport, and Mansour Limo.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Can
Ne-
I ask a question, Mr. Fields? Mr. Fields, we get a lot of these almost every meeting, and are these primarily one-car companies, or are we looking at, I noticed that your assistant's shaking her head up and down. Okay.
Yeah, typically what we've gotten, we've had a reasonably large migration from the taxicab industry over to to limousines and black car services. We occasionally have one, I think Nashville Experience Tours, they're more of they're anticipating being a small tour service with vehicles that would hold obviously less than 15, which is what you have authority over. But typically they are the ones that just come in, one car, one driver, and they're working for themselves.
Okay.
And there are some that, in order to work for Uber Black, which is a higher level of the regular Uber service, they have to have local licensing. So they actually come in and form a company, even though they're driving for Uber Black, they're forming their own company, carrying their own. At that point, we're doing the background checks, we're doing the insurance checks, all those concerns we had about that particular kind of service a few years ago.
And Ms. Costonas, we don't have to use the standard of a public necessity and convenience in evaluating these applications?
I would have to check chapter 674 to be
All right.
100% sure about that, but I
Well,
can do that
I don't
while
want to
we're
hold this
speaking.
meeting up, but that's
Would
something
would it
I'd
be
like to.
appropriate to get you an opinion
Yeah,
after?
thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we've got some other passenger vehicle for hire certificates that were issued by the Transportation Licensing Commission Executive Secretary, and we've been asked to review and confirm those issuances to Goldilocks LLC and Nova Transportation. Mr. Fields?
If you'll recall, at the November meeting, we anticipated not having a December meeting from an agenda standpoint. I described that there could be some OPVH companies that would appear, and with your permission, I would give them a temporary permit or temporary authority to operate. These would normally, they would have been in the category just above that you've already approved. They're in order, and I'm just asking for a confirmation.
I'd make a motion to confirm the certificates, to confirm the temporary certificates and turn them into to approval of the applications of Goldilocks LLC and Nova Transportation.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We've also been asked to review some company name changes and address changes. My Chauffeur is changing its name to Wayne Enterprises / Getaway Car LLC with a new address at 1002 Division Street, apartment 407, Nashville, Tennessee, 37203. Also Green Rides LLC to Sound Transportation LLC with a new address at 800 19th Avenue South, apartment 1303, Nashville, Tennessee, 37203. Mr. Fields?
In order to, anytime there's a change to the face of the initial application, the commission has to review and approve any changes. It's a pretty simple, straightforward request. Staff recommends approval.
A name change to Getaway Car?
It's always amazing some of the companies that come in with the names they come in with, but we don't judge them. We just bring them to you.
All right. You find the request for the name change and the address change to all be in order?
Yes,
All right.
from both companies.
I make a motion that we approve the request for the name change and address changes for My Chauffeur to Wayne Enterprise Getaway Car LLC and Green Rides LLC to Sound Transportation LLC with their respective address changes as well.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We also have a couple of items under wrecker and towing services. We've been asked to review a name change for Advanced Towing and Recovery to Performance Towing and Recovery. Their address is 109 Shakespeare Avenue, Madison, Tennessee, 37256, with a new telephone number of 615-766-4851. Mr. Fields?
Their existing company that have been with us several years, they just changing a name. So it's in order, very similar to the other one. In order to make the change, you have to approve it.
Well, I make a motion to approve the name change for Advanced Towing and Recovery to Performance Towing and Recovery. And it looks like they're asking for a new phone number, not a new address.
Correct.
Okay, and approving the new telephone number.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We also have a non-consent application that was submitted by Miracle Towing and Recovery that we've been asked to review. Mr. Fields?
Miracle Towing has been in business over a year. One of the requirements that in order to do non-consent towing is have to be in service over a year without any problems. We have worked with them for the year. We have not had any issues. Any questions have come up, been answered quickly. Everything is in order. Just reminding the commission and the public, non-consent towing means the a car is towed without the owner's consent, which is pretty straightforward. In other words, it could be on private property, and the owner of the private property does not want that vehicle on the property. They call a company. The companies have to either be an emergency company or a non-consent applicant with this commission. They are held to a higher standard, higher insurance standards, and so forth. So Miracle has met the requirements and would be eligible to receive a non-consent towing permit.
What are the specific requirements for notice to the driver of the car that's getting towed, of the fees and whatnot? Let's say you're at location and the tow truck's there, and you walk up and say, hey, let me move my car. What kind of notice needs to be apparent and ready available?
There is no specific notice in terms of there's a signed requirement, but in terms of the specific notice of a driver, if a driver is able to get to the car while the vehicle is on the hook, so to speak, then for $75 it has to be released. Once the car has been moved, it's no longer eligible for a drop fee. But the drop fee is $75. So the notice really, it's for years there was not even a sign requirement. It's a matter of it's private property, and the state law allows under those circumstances for the tow truck to remove it.
So the tow truck itself doesn't have to have the prices posted?
It has the $75 drop fee is on any of the non-consents.
Okay.
And the emergencies.
And a lot of these are also the cars that are parked along the city streets when it changes around 4 o'clock to where you're not allowed to park there.
It's a little bit different, but it's the same concept. The police make the tow. The police have to sign those tickets, and they have to use emergency tow companies, whatever the zone wrecker is. For instance, downtown, it would be Martin's wreckers. So, but that does, yes, at 4 o'clock, when those meters turn and there's no longer parking, then the police do have the authority and regularly tow vehicles if they're impeding traffic.
All right.
Make a motion to approve the non-consent application for Miracle Towing and Recovery, LLC.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Fields, do we have any other business?
Only a early advisory to the commission. We will be bringing in the next maybe the February meeting, but at least by the March meeting, we will be bringing recommendation for rules related to entertainment transportation. I will give you a little bit of an update at the state legislature on Monday and at the transportation committee. There's a piece of legislation that would give the city the authority to regulate those vehicles that are above 15 passengers and over 10,000 pounds. It's now proceeding to the House Finance Committee. Assuming it's successful there, I think there's a dual track and going through the Senate. So we're optimistic that we will be able to begin enforcing on April the 1st, but we will need to have some rules in place prior to that. The structure's there, but you're going to have to establish fees, some inspection standards, and some real basic information. In fact, what I'll also do is circulate the ordinance to you in advance. You can go ahead and study it. There's on first reading next Tuesday, the council will be looking at an amendment to the original ordinance was 911, and there's an amendment that will make several changes, not wholesale changes, but certainly several changes, including insurance levels and that sort of thing. So your staff as well as legal are working on trying to make sure we're going to bring you a package that will make sense. I'm meeting with the industry on February the 7th at 4 o'clock to go through, to go over, get their feedback, and make sure we're certainly available to them all the time, but we want to meet with them in mass so they can make sure that we hear clearly what they're saying. And I'll be happy to invite you all to that meeting if you like.
What makes up this industry? You said you're going to be meeting with the
Yeah,
industry.
the industry
Who
will
is
be-
a member of this industry?
Okay, the vehicles that we're generally talking about will be the what are typically called the party buses,
Right.
the large tour buses. The largest vehicle that you can regulate, as you know, is 15 passengers and weigh less than 10,000 pounds. We've had an influx over the last several years of what's been called transportainment. I'm working hard to call them entertainment transportation. But there you'll see open buses. You'll see the tractors. That we have 3 companies that have tractors that pull wagons. It could be there's a retired Swiss military vehicle that actually is operating. So it's a large variety of vehicles, maybe as many as 60. That have been in and around Nashville operating. This would give you the authority to establish basic regulatory language that would ensure that the company has appropriate insurance, that the company has hired drivers that will pass your background checks with fingerprints, and then was also required that the vehicles meet certain standards that you're going to be asked to establish on mechanical and how often they're inspected. There also will be issues related to sound, because we're going to be meeting with sound, and we're trying to get that worked out because sound is certainly a large issue with it. And then finally, they have to, in order to serve beer, as they call it, a BYO beer, because they can't do alcohol or wine, they have to have this commission's license prior to going to the beer board to be able to get that permit. Did I cover that, Mrs. Costonis?
Yeah.
Good.
And I guess what I was curious about was whether there was an organization
Yes.
of representing
Is there like a
these
professional
various different
organization?
entities.
Yes,
Or
it does not
vehicles.
include all of them. It's open to all, but it's the I can't remember the name, but yes, there is one that it's a loose organization. It's not as formal as it could be, but they're working. They actually have lobbyists working at the state legislature, so they're that formal.
Wow.
They certainly do.
Okay.
Now, I'm sure, I think council members mentioned this, that they, when it was passed, the complaints are about them going into neighborhoods. I've heard the same complaints over in East Nashville. I don't know why. Well, I know why I was told they were in East Nashville. At any rate, they were there. So are we going to be able to control where they can and can't go?
You have 2 different kind of options. You can put them on a route, which, in other saying specifically what streets they can be on, or we can develop zones very much like you did the low-speed vehicles. I mean, just kind of a hint for the world. I think probably zones make better sense, and then forbidding travel in certain residential areas based on the base zoning of that particular property, the R, the RS 8s and 12s and all that sort of thing. So, or we could deal with arterials, collectors, and the street designation. So that's where we're going to be depending back on the engineers at NDOT to help us understand what makes sense and what is easy definable. The one thing that you've always been really good at is being very specific and very understandable, and not have a lot of. In other words, if it's confusing if it leaves here confused, it'll be more confused on the street. So I'm confident that y'all will put that kind of language together.
Well, I assume, have you heard from council members? If you haven't, I would guess you will.
Oh, and we'll develop quiet zones. For instance, I can already tell you one of the things we're going to be asking is no travel in front from 7th to 8th on Broadway between. When Hume Falk School is in session, and we would also do the same thing on any other school. So that would be a rule you're going to probably be seeing.
The other question I had is, we're going to have to inspect them, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you have the staff to inspect them?
The proposal's been made. It's been shared with the administration at NDOT. I have every belief that we're going to be able to do that. Part of the fee structure will be making that happen through their fees. So that'll be one of the things we're going to be describing at the meeting when we establish the fees.
Okay, we've established fees for the SUMD companies, and those fees are supposed to help you hire some help. So
Correct.
How's that going?
Correct. There's a $10,000 administrative fee that's annual. Then you also allow us to collect $141 per vehicle. We anticipate we've actually been looking for staff for that. It's been very challenging. We had hoped to go through an engineering training process, because they would come in with some experience in terms of transportation, with as she says, with a new director. That's one of the conversations that because I want to lean on her experience in other cities to say, well, maybe we can go this direction or maybe we can go that direction. So I haven't bombarded her yet, because I've only had her about
I understand.
16 days? 13 days.
Okay.
But I'm very confident that we're right at the top of the list. The funds are there. It's just a matter of getting to where we need to get to make sure we have the right kind of folks to do what this is going to do.
Well, this is going to, I guess, portray my prejudice. We don't need an engineer. Sorry. I understand engineers like other engineers, but this is a different kind of job because it's not just, it deals with a lot of different things, as you can tell her, I'm sure.
Well, with regard to the SUMDs, I understood it was just going to be one additional person.
Well, we initially asked for 2. I think it'll be one it'll be an initial hiring of 1. There'll be an administrative type and an inspector. Some could do both, but being able to work with software programs that'll be able to monitor the movements and the violations and that sort of thing. And we have had that conversation that the director certainly, she was way ahead of me on that particular issue. I mean, way ahead. So she could actually respond to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commission. We actually are going to be moving forward. There's actually an ongoing initiative right now to bring about what they're referring to as a community development software package that's going to allow us to actually track GIS and then also implement in documentation such as the inspection, violations, all of that. So we're actually in the process of moving forward with that initiative. So we are hiring a GIS person that will actually be helping with monitoring all that and pulling all that information in. That'll actually allow us to create a dashboard so we can actually be watching exactly what we're doing, where they're at, and then include tracking the violations. So if we have someone who's a habitual violator, we actually know how to handle it and manage it. So we're in the process of working with our ITS department and putting all that together. We're looking to actually put that software program and start moving it forward with the build out of the database over the summer, and then actually start implementing in the data and everything by, I would say, probably early fall, and have that program up and running. Meanwhile, on the back end, we are in the process right now. We have currently are hiring, and unfortunately we are having a tough time with some employment challenges. I'm not going to deny that. So we've actually brought on contractors that will be helping us in the inspection field, but they do need to go through a training program, really get an understanding of what their role and responsibility is, and we're working on that right now. So that, I think I will be giving Billy some really big help very soon here with that. And then, of course, on the administrative side, we do have a vacancy, and I've actually just recently, because I had a chance to be up with Billy this week and visit with him, I've just actually kind of bumped that up to the top of the priority list. I have quite a bit of vacancies I need to do, but I can't go out and do it all at one time, so I have to prioritize it. But I had a chance to visit with the team, understand the need and how important it is. So we've actually moved that a little bit top of the line, so that'll be coming even sooner than he wants to, because he's got to sit and do all the interviewing.
Thank you, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
As I told you, she brings a great deal of energy to NDOT.
Knowledge.
And knowledge, absolutely.
All right, well, would anyone like to make a motion regarding adjournment?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.